They tell you love is simple, but if you're a man who lives by principle, who trains his mind and walks the hard road, you already know nothing real is simple, not honor, not mastery, not love. Today I'll show you what women do when they truly love a man of depth. And if you recognize these signs, you're not just lucky. You're standing in a rare and sacred battlefield. Sign 1. She shows you her chaos, not just her beauty. Beauty is easy. Beauty is curated. But chaos, that's a different story. When a woman truly loves you, something rare happens. She stops trying to control her image. She lets you see the parts she spent years hiding from the world. The doubts, the fears, the memories she hoped would stay buried. Stoicism teaches us the true nature of a thing is revealed under pressure, not in comfort. It's easy to show strength when the world applauds you. It's harder, infinitely harder, to show weakness when you fear it might cost you love. When she loves you, her guard falls not because she trusts blindly, but because her soul recognizes yours as a safe harbor. She stops curating. She stops filtering. She shows you her emotional underbelly. Not perfectly, not predictably, but inevitably. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When a woman begins to love you, her internal world, the color of her thoughts, her chaos, her memories, bleeds into yours. Not because she wants pity, but because love, real love, refuses to stay surface level. It demands risk. You might see it in small moments. A confession whispered at midnight, when the lights are off and the armor is down. Tears that spill without permission during a movie that hits too close to home. The sudden trembling of her voice when she talks about the version of herself she's afraid you'll find unlovable. Understand this. When she shows you her chaos, she's not being dramatic. She's not seeking validation. She's giving you a key, a silent, trembling invitation to witness her without masks. And here's the part most men miss. If you respond with judgment, with withdrawal, with impatience, you don't just reject her story. You reject the part of her that chose to trust you. Epictetus taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The same is true here. Your reaction to her chaos defines the emotional gravity of your bond. A woman who loves you needs to know, can you love me, even when I forget how to love myself? So when she shows you her darkness, stand still, breathe deeply, become the unmoving center in her emotional storm. Not by fixing her, not by preaching, but by witnessing her fully without flinching. Because the greatest men are not the ones who conquer others. They are the ones who can sit quietly with another person's chaos and not feel the need to run. And if you recognize this moment when it happens, understand, you are closer to real connection than most men ever get. Stay tuned, because what comes next will show you the invisible battles women fight when they're truly invested in your soul. Sign 2, she fights to hold the bond, not win the argument. When most people think about love, they imagine comfort, laughter, smiles, quiet moments by the fire. But the truth is, love isn't comfortable. Not real love. Real love sharpens you. It challenges your ego, and sometimes it fights you. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." A woman who loves you will not always be sweet. She will sometimes seem fierce, stubborn, even irrational. Not because she's trying to defeat you, but because she's terrified of losing what she's found in you. When a woman truly loves you, she isn't content to sit silently while distance grows. She will speak, she will argue, she will wrestle with the things left unsaid, the miscommunications, the fears that creep in when two imperfect humans try to build something sacred. She's not fighting you because she wants to win a trophy labeled right. She's fighting because deep down, she fears losing the one thing that feels irreplaceable, the connection she's found in you. And here's the secret Stoicism teaches. A wise man understands that not all battles are to destroy. Some battles exist to strengthen the walls of the kingdom. In relationships, the fiercest arguments often come not from apathy, but from desperate care. You might see it like this. She's standing in the doorway, tears in her eyes, angry because you didn't seem to notice something that mattered to her. She's raising her voice not to hurt you, but because lowering it felt too risky, like you might not hear her heart breaking underneath. She's pushing back, questioning, challenging, because deep inside she's thinking, please fight for this with me. Don't let this crumble. In Stoicism, we are taught, control yourself, not the world. But in love, controlling yourself doesn't mean becoming emotionally cold. It means recognizing the difference between a woman who argues to destroy and a woman who argues to rebuild. If you listen closely during the conflict, you'll hear it. The frustration wrapped in fear, the accusations tangled with vulnerability, the anger disguising terror. She's not saying, I hate you. She's saying without the words, you matter too much to lose lightly. The immature man resents the friction. The wise man welcomes it because he understands it's the fire that forges unbreakable bonds. So remember, when she fights for the bond, not to dominate, not to humiliate, but to protect the invisible thread between you, you're witnessing one of the clearest signs of genuine love there is. And if you can stand firm, not as her enemy, but as her ally in the storm, you'll not only survive the conflict, you'll come out of it closer, stronger, and more certain than ever. And speaking of storms, in the next sign you'll discover how a woman in love doesn't just stand beside you when things are easy, but actually adapts her life's rhythm to match yours, without losing herself. Sign 3, she adjusts her life rhythm without losing her soul. Love doesn't demand disappearance. A woman who genuinely loves you doesn't abandon herself to orbit around your world. She doesn't dissolve her dreams, mute her voice, or erase her identity to keep you comfortable. Instead, she adjusts. She weaves. She finds ways to synchronize her life's rhythm with yours, not by sacrificing her soul, but by choosing alignment over chaos. Stoicism teaches, freedom is the alignment of will with nature. In relationships, this means flowing together without force. When a woman loves you, you'll notice it in small but powerful ways. She rearranges her mornings so you can build shared routines. She adapts her evenings so you have real moments of peace together. She notices your ambitions, and instead of competing with them, she makes space for them. And she does all of this without resentment, because her adjustment isn't submission, it's partnership. A woman who loves you sees your path, respects her own, and builds a shared journey where both can thrive. And if you're wise enough to notice that rare balance, understand, you're not with someone desperate to belong. You're with someone strong enough to choose you without losing herself. In the next sign, you'll see something even rarer. How real love reveals itself not through grand speeches, but through the quiet power of attention. Sign 4, she notices what the world will never see. In a noisy world where everyone is rushing, performing, and forgetting, a woman who truly loves you becomes still enough to notice. She sees what you never thought anyone would. The way your jaw tenses when you're carrying a burden too heavy to name. The subtle shift in your tone when disappointment cuts deeper than you admit. The restless way you stare at the ceiling when the weight of unspoken fears keeps you awake at night. Epictetus once said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. A woman who genuinely loves you listens with more than her ears. She listens with her presence. She listens with her heart. And here's what you must understand. She's not collecting data to use against you. She's gathering pieces of your invisible battles, the silent struggles you never voice. Because in loving you, she sees protecting your inner world as sacred work. Most will only notice the obvious, your wins, your failures, your visible achievements. But she notices the fragile spaces between those moments, where doubt creeps, where loneliness gnaws, where dreams quietly flicker and threaten to go dark. Love isn't loud applause. Love is silent witnessing. In Stoicism, we are taught that the external world is never truly ours, but our inner citadel, the fortress of our mind, belongs to us alone. And when a woman genuinely loves you, she doesn't seek to storm your fortress. She stands at its gates with reverence, honoring what she sees without trying to conquer it. So ask yourself, When she looks at you, does she see the obvious or does she see the invisible? Because the woman who notices your battles before you even name them is not loving the version of you the world sees. She's loving the version of you that the world will never understand. And speaking of understanding, in the next sign, you'll see the rarest kind of loyalty. Not the loyalty shouted in public, but the loyalty spoken in rooms where you aren't there to defend yourself. Sign 5. She defends your absence like it's sacred. Anyone can perform loyalty when you're standing beside them. Few can maintain it when you aren't there to witness it. A woman who truly loves you doesn't just stand with you when the sun is shining. She stands for you in the rooms you never see, where conversations turn sharp, where your name gets tossed casually, where silence could be safer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." A woman who loves you understands this. She knows you are not perfect. She knows you carry scars, contradictions, complexities. But she defends the intention of your soul, not the spotless myth the world demands. She doesn't defend you because she thinks you're flawless. She defends you because she has seen your battles. She has witnessed the way you carry yourself when no one is clapping. She believes in the man you're becoming, even when others can only see fragments of who you are. You'll recognize it in moments you weren't even supposed to hear about. Someone questions your ambition, and she doesn't flinch. She reminds them you're building quietly. Someone jokes about your struggles, and she shifts the conversation without a smile. Someone doubts your worth, and without raising her voice, she makes it clear, "You don't know the man I know." Loyalty, real loyalty, is silent. It's not announced with hashtags, shouted across rooftops, or wrapped in performative speeches. It lives in quiet choices, in moments where standing up for someone costs you something: comfort, approval, belonging. In Stoicism, we are taught, value judgment only when it aligns with virtue, not applause. The woman who loves you carries this wisdom instinctively. She doesn't defend you for social points. She defends you because protecting your dignity has become part of her own honor. So ask yourself, when you aren't in the room, is there someone guarding your absence like sacred ground? Because a woman who truly loves you loudest when no one is watching. And if you think that's rare, it gets even rarer. Because the next sign reveals how love doesn't just protect you in the present, but quietly builds a future where you're already written into the story. Sign 6. She dreams in we, not I. Love is not a checklist. It's not made of ceremonies, milestones, or deadlines. Real love reveals itself in the unconscious ways a woman speaks about tomorrow. When she truly loves you, something subtle but profound shifts. Her language starts to weave you into her vision of the future, without thinking, without forcing it, without asking if you notice. You'll hear it when she says, "When we travel someday, I wonder where we'll end up living. Maybe we should try that new place together." No declarations, no big promises. Just the quiet presence of your name written into the scenes she hasn't lived yet. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When she dreams with you in it, effortlessly, it's because her thoughts have already made a home for you. You're no longer an outsider visiting her life. You're becoming part of her internal landscape. But here's what separates real love from dependency. She's not building a future out of fear of being alone. She's not stitching your name into her dreams because she needs you to complete her. She chooses you because your presence makes the future feel more true, more honest, more complete, but not desperate. In Stoicism, we are taught, cling to nothing outside your reasoned choice and love with a free heart. A woman who genuinely loves you dreams with you, not through you. She doesn't ask you to become her world. She asks you to walk beside her as she builds it. So listen carefully. If her future starts to sound like we instead of I, not out of force, but out of instinct, you are witnessing one of the most sacred signs of true love. And speaking of sacred, in the next and final sign, you'll see the ultimate proof of love. When a woman doesn't just love who you are today, but stands by the man you are still becoming. Sign 7. She loves the battle, not just the victory. Most people will love you for your victories. They'll celebrate your polished moments. when the world is clapping, when the rewards are obvious, when the light is flattering. But a woman who truly loves you loves the unfinished manuscript. She loves the man who is still struggling with doubt. She loves the dreamer who hasn't yet crossed the finish line. She loves the warrior who hasn't yet won every battle, but refuses to lay down his sword. The Stoics teach, do not be ashamed of your scars. They are the marks of a life lived with courage. A woman who genuinely loves you sees those scars, physical, emotional, spiritual, and honors them as proof that you are becoming something rare. She does not demand you arrive fully formed. She does not flinch when you falter, when you second guess, when you question if you're enough, because in her eyes, your value was never tied to perfect performance. It was tied to the fierce, unyielding effort you make to keep moving forward. You'll feel it in the quiet moments, when you confess the fears you barely understand yourself, and she stays. When you doubt your own worth, and she reminds you who you are becoming. When you lose a battle, and she still looks at you like a king in exile, waiting for his return. She doesn't love the trophy. She loves the man still building the cathedral brick by brick, scar by scar, prayer by prayer. In Stoicism, we are taught, be tolerant with others, but strict with yourself. A woman who loves you this way embodies the same truth. She accepts your humanity while standing silently beside you, demanding, without words, that you never stop rising. And if you find her, know this, you are not simply loved, you are chosen, not for who you pretended to be, but for who you are still daring to become. And that is the rarest kind of love. Love that witnesses your chaos, love that fights for your bond, love that notices what the world forgets, love that builds a future in we, love that defends you when you're absent, love that accepts not the polished mask, but the man still forging himself in fire. If you feel these signs, treasure them, and if not, do not despair. Become the man who earns this kind of love by first giving it to himself. Inside you is a greatness the world was never meant to fully understand. Protect it, nurture it, rise.